listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Our website is awakenedradio.net. Join us in our live chat room to interact with and listen to some of the world's very best teachers on self-empowerment, wealth consciousness, energy healing, and geopolitics. Take part in our live forum, shop in our store, look around, read our magazine, Thrive Evolutionary Consciousness. We are here for you with live talk about real matters that matter to you. You can be a part of the Awakened Radio Network by visiting awakenradio.net today. We look forward to getting to know you.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Lila Rose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. This is Evolutionary Women Radio Show with your host, Pernilla Lila Rose. And today we are going to, what are we going to do today? It's always the same with me, guys. There's not much new here. It's all about coming back to yourself, to your truth, to your body, to your knowing, and finding out what it is that pulls you out of that. So we're going to continue. We've been talking quite deeply about that the last few weeks, and I don't see any reason to not continue because that's really all that it's about, that I know about. There's so many things going on in the world, and I think it's really important to know what is going on out there so we're not taken by surprise. And I have a lot of respect for those people who really know what's going on and are able to share it in a way from a place of really deep knowing to help us wake up to part of what we are asleep to in the world. That in itself can be a little shocking when you really realize that the world is not the way you think it is. The world is not functioning and being run the way that you think it is or should be, or that people even say it is, those who run it. There is so much going on, and it's causing so much confusion and overwhelm and fear and doubt for so many people. And even though a lot of people are still living in a way where they're completely unconscious to what is going on, at some point we are going to start waking up to both what's going on in the world and in ourselves, because our own reaction and resistance and whatever it is we do to the world is also not really who we are. It's like we need to wake up to our own reaction as much as we need to wake up to what we are reacting to. So there's more than one step in this process of awakening, and I don't think we can do it all at once. It's good to titrate things, to bite-size it, so that you're able to realize and wake up to the parts that you're asleep to. There are some people who wake up to the whole big thing in one swoop, but that's usually because they have been either meditating or been involved in spiritual teachings and understandings for a long time, maybe even lifetimes, possibly lifetimes, I would say, if you believe in more than one lifetime, that's something that, everybody must see if that resonates with them or not. But while we're here and while we are being, there's such a confusion and such a sense of fear and overwhelm in the world. And I think we all need some support and some help in learning how to navigate through that. So we'll talk more about that today. And before we do, I just want to invite you to come to the chat room, which is right here on awakenedradio.net/live chat room. And if you go there, come and say hello, share yourself. You might chat with some of the other people. It's kind of nice to get a little community going where we can share with each other what's going on and support each other and keep taking the next step into liberation. It's a process, and even though once you're done, you may look back and say, it actually wasn't a process. It was just one waking up, in one time it was one big dream and nightmare probably, and now you wake up from it. But for most of us, it's just a process of waking up to little parts here and little parts there. I think probably for most people, except for the few who see it all in one big swoop. And we just need to learn what steps we can take, mostly so we can stay present, and stay present and stay present, and not continually get lost. And that's why I keep talking about the importance of being in community, getting together in smaller circles, support each other, talk about what's going on with you, talk about what's going on in the world and how it affects you, and what support you need to stay present with yourself. That is so important, and I really want that for all of us. The more we can support each other in staying present to our truth, and our truth is found inside when we learn to listen. It's there waiting for each and every one of us. The guidance is there, the wisdom is there, the knowing, the movement, the actions to take, the actions not to take. When we really learn to go inside and listen, it's all available to us. But, like we talked about, there's all these layers that are covering this wisdom, this knowing, this guidance, because we have been so identified with going outside of ourselves and try to fix the outside, the parts that we don't like, that we want to get rid of. So instead of staying present inside, we get lost in the drama outside, in the trauma, in the intensity. And we all know there's so much going on out there, and it's not getting better. It seems like every day there's more that's being revealed that you hear about, and you go, oh my God, the environment, there's so much going on. What to do? The best thing to do is to go inside and learn to be present inside. Learn to listen to this presence, to your being, to your essence, and from there get your guidance. That is where your actions will come from. And those actions will be right action. They talk in Buddhism about right action. Right action comes from your center, from your essence. It can't come from anywhere else, because if it's outside of yourself, it's a reaction to what is going on out there. And all it is, it's adding more energy to what you want to get rid of. Right? And that's the same with our emotions and our beliefs. If we try to get rid of something, it is a reaction against something, and that reaction is happening outside of your core, unless it is a response. Unless it's a strong, a response coming from inside where you just know this is the right thing to do. And I would say we all do know that already. But because, again, it's covered in so many layers, we don't know how to trust it. We don't quite know how to hear what's actually trying to communicate to us, because it's a different kind of communication. For some, it may be an actual voice. It's called the still small voice. For some, that may sound like a thundering voice. It may not be so still. But for most people, it's more a sensation. It's kind of a gentle knowing without words, although there might be words. But it comes as a knowing, as an inner arising of something that is so totally different than the mind. It's like night and day. But you need to learn to listen to this and interpret it. It's like really learning a new language. And it takes time to learn that language so you can speak it fluently. And most of us are not speaking it fluently. The more you practice any kind of language, the better you'll be. The easier it will be for you to understand what other people say in that language, and the easier it will be for you to respond in that language, right? So it's really no different when you come into your own body, start listening to the language. You can call it the language of your body, the language of your soul, spirit language. It's again, these are words, but you will know, because it comes as a sensation or a feeling. It's something deep down in your body that can either relax or it expands. There's just a sense of knowing that this is it. And then it's a matter of learning to trust it, and not like the day after go and say, oh, I probably made that up. And there will be a time where we do that anyway, because we can't quite help, because it's new. So, just go through that phase where you don't really trust it, even though in the moment it felt so right and so alive, and you just knew that this was right. And then the mind comes in and start telling you all these old stories that you've been hearing for so long, and then it's easy to start believing those more than that deep experience that you had, where you knew something that was very different, that was much more alive, much more real, much more true to your heart, true to your integrity and your core values. So that's why the more you surround yourself with people who are speaking that language and who are learning to speak that language of the soul, of your body, because it comes through the body. The soul language comes through the body as sensations or experiences, expansion or warmth or love or joy or happiness or something where you just go, oh, it's so different, so different than the mind. And the more we can learn to speak that together and practice that together, we'll be really good at it. If you get a group of people who are trying to learn French, let's say, it's much easier to get into a group where you practice that French language together, and you fumble around and you learn and you try it out and you have fun with it, and then you leave and then you feel that, oh, I'm actually a little better now. Instead of just sitting trying to figure it out on your own, it's much more fun to do it with other people. So find some people where you live or online, or there's probably a lot of groups and circles, or start your own, where you can start practicing creating the world the way you want it. And this world comes from your inner knowing. That's where it all starts, and that's where we need to learn to listen to it. What I wanted to talk about today, as one of my metaphors that came up a few years ago, I call it the ocean water metaphor, or the frozen wave metaphor. Because when the mind has a deeper understanding of the truth, many times it's easier for the mind to see it in pictures, or to understand it in pictures, through pictures, or through song, through humor. There's something that it's easier to receive it that way, and it kind of takes it out of the mind into a different level of consciousness. And I think the ocean water metaphor that I have been talking about before, but it's been a long time, so I just felt moved to talk about that again today. I think it might help your mind allow what is easier. And you know, I always talk about allowing versus resisting. And the more the mind, the mind is what resists, of course, and the more the mind understands that it's going to be okay and it's going to be safe to let go and allow, it's going to be easier. So let me just talk about this little metaphor here. Imagine that there is only water. There is nothing else but water. And you know, go to the ocean. Let's just drop in the ocean and just look around. There's just water. All you see is water. All you feel is water. Nothing but water. The waves are water. All the drops in the waves are water. You know, the whole ocean is made of water. No matter what shape it takes, it's all H2O. It's all water. And then here's this little wave coming along, you know, just doing its wave thing. And then for some reason something happens and the wave gets scared. And it seems like it's traumatic or painful. And then because it doesn't have the knowledge to handle it in a different way or to be with it in a different way, it freezes. And it becomes a frozen wave. And that's what we can start relating, that frozenness, to these parts inside of ourselves that feel hard and frozen and stuck, right? So just imagine it's like a frozen wave. And what happens to the wave, because it gets so frozen, it contracts, it's hard to breathe fully, right? It can just go, but it can't go, because there's no space, right? It's contracted. This frozenness, it's cold and hard and contracted, and it's hard to breathe air and life into it. It's rigid. It's tight. And it can't quite get into the fluidness and the buoyancy like it did before this trauma, right? So the only thing that's going on here is that water, the ocean, has taken a shape that seems to be stuck. It's not moving. It's taken a real shape. And this is the shape that a lot of the things in our life seem like, look like a frozen wave, right? A mountain we can't get through, something so dense and stuck. And all we know is to try and get rid of the wave, the frozenness. We resist it. We get our chisel out and we start hacking away at it because we want it to look differently. We want it to have a different shape. And you can try and follow me in your own experience here and just see what it is in you that feels like a frozen wave. It's stuck. It's something that makes you not able to breathe fully the way you want to. You can't just dance around with ease and sensuality and joy and lightness and softness because you're frozen. And inside this frozenness, I bet you there is still a longing to be buoyant and fluid and just move like water does, naturally, just flowing in its own flow. And that is still inside of us. But here we are, right? We have these frozen waves inside, and we don't know what to do with them. And what we do, though, is we focus on the shape or the form of the wave. Now, this can look any way. It can be the shape of an emotional state. It could be the shape of anger, of fear, of sadness, shame, loneliness. You can put your own one in here, and just if you want to share it in the chat room, you can share what the shape is of your specific frozen wave. And that's what you focus on, right? You keep focusing on this thing that is not fluid and buoyant, and you want it to be fluid and buoyant. And that's right. It's okay that you want that, because you know inside that this is how it's supposed to be. And you're right in that. In its natural state, in your natural state, you will flow. You will dance with ease and grace and joy. It's there. What we forget is that when we see a frozen wave, a shape, something that is not in its natural state, we tend to focus on it, only on the shape, on the problem, right? We call it a problem. And then we go into finding the solution to this problem. And all along, we keep forgetting that this frozen wave is made of water. It's just taken a shape that looks different than the fluidity of water. So in reality, this wave does not need to change the way our minds think. All it needs is some warmth, some kindness, something to help it dissolve back into its natural state, where it's fluid and buoyant and just flowing along. So just think about it. What do you think this frozen wave in your case would need? I can just tell you this, that it does not need to be judged, criticized, rejected, resisted, disowned. And it does not need to be told that it's unworthy or not good enough to be water, to be fluid, to be buoyant, to be dancing, to be ecstatic. Because that's not the truth. The truth is that this wave is already water, is already H2O, but it's condensed into a frozen state. And frozenness needs a higher temperature, right? A higher state of consciousness, we can call it, in order to dissolve back into its natural state. So, what do you think your frozen wave needs? Are you beating up on your frozen wave? Are you making it wrong for being frozen? Are you resisting it? Do you get your chisel out to cut off some things so it will have a different shape? Maybe instead of looking so spiky, maybe you are trying to make it more round. But the bottom line is, it's still frozen. And until it is unfrozen, until it's defrosted, it's still going to be rigid and tight, and it will be restricted from just flowing as water. So it's fine to change things, and we do these things, and it's all perfectly fine, because as long as we are identified with the state of consciousness that most people still are, that's the only tool we have. Let's say the only tool is a chisel to try and change the shape of the frozen wave. And it may help, it may be better to walk around with a round frozen wave instead of one that has all these spikes on them, right? Maybe it's better that way. So let's absolutely use the tools that we have that have worked to a certain degree in our life. Let's not make them wrong or ourselves wrong or just throw them out. Let's really honor the fact that we found some things that helped us. And that could be, it could be many things, right? It could be medication to help soften maybe some deeply painful emotions. And that's great. If it works, that's great. It could be medication that we take if there is a shape in the body, that the body has taken a frozen wave shape, where we call it a disease, right? So it might be helpful to go and instead of get your chisel out, go to the hospital and maybe have some surgery to change the shape of the wave so that at least you can eliminate naturally, you can breathe properly, your heart will beat properly. All these things are fine. Please keep doing them until you have realized the nature of the wave in a way that you know it so deeply that you can relax, that you can bring warmth to the wave so it can start dissolve back into its natural state. Right? As long as we feel very contracted, let's say, our whole belly is going to be tight, right? And elimination may be difficult. Or we may have headaches a lot because our neck is so tight. And so, get a massage, get acupuncture, take medication, whatever works. But at the same time, keep another pathway open where you can start realizing the nature of the wave, of the frozen wave. And the more you realize the nature of it, the more you can see it start softening and dissolving and melting into its natural state. And once that tension of the frozen wave melts away, then your headaches are going to go away because there is not that pressure that's being held in there that makes the body not function the way it will do naturally when it is in its natural state as fluid water. So there's a lot about water and waves here today, and I think it's a really clear metaphor if you can start bringing that back to yourself and relate that to whatever it is that feels frozen in your life. I think it can be so helpful to stop resisting the frozenness and start putting to practice what we've talked about so much here is the allowing instead. Allow the wave to be there. And by your allowing, or should I say by not resisting, by taking the resistance away, and that's the chisel, and by bringing allowing in, you are actually creating warmer water for this wave just by allowing. The water around the wave is already getting warmer. Yeah, you get it, right? And then the wave can naturally start melting. It just happens on its own. No chisels needed. When the water is warm, it will happen on its own. So I notice we're almost at the break time today, and I want to definitely get into this more after the break. If you have any questions, do feel free to chat in. You can always call in if you have a question, if you want some help to meet one of your waves, and that number is 334-649-7204. And we can play around in the waves and the frozen waves if you want to. So we're going to go on a little break now, and then we'll continue this shortly.
Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight and night. For all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened, come and join our love.
Exploring Your Dreams 2014 with Rob Ragazine. The Awakened Radio Network is thrilled and delighted to bring you Take Two. Exploring Your Dreams 2014, beginning March 8th at 1 p.m. Central, that's 2 p.m. Eastern. Rob will help you to understand the meaning of your dreams. He'll discuss your dreams and help you to work with them on an intuitive level so that you really understand the message of your soul brought to you each night in dream time. Did you know that the most basic dream symbols are often the four elements: air, earth, water, and fire? You may have dreams about escaping a burning building, drowning, swimming, flying, falling, or being at an earthquake. Looking at these elements within your dream can help you discover a basic understanding of the meaning that that dream has for you. Rob will bring you information on dream analysis, dream symbols, dream fragments, recurring dreams, regular dreams versus big dreams, archetypes, shadow, dream drama, setting dream intentions, importance of quality sleep, creating your dictionary, and this is a really exciting part. He's going to help you create your very own dream dictionary so that you know what the symbols in your dreams mean for you. Now, when does it start? March 8th. It is a six-week class that meets every other week. It takes place beginning March 8th, March 22nd, April 5th, and 19th, May 3rd, May 17th. 1.5 hours in each class where you are provided a private classroom to interact with Rob and the other students. You will be given all the study material that you need, plus all 9 hours of the recorded student classes and notes will all be made available to you so that you can download them on your computer. If you register by February 20th, you can save $50 on the course. This is big, boys and girls. Don't miss your opportunity to work with Rob Ragazine here on the Awaken Radio Network so that you understand the message of your dreams. Visit awakenedradio.net. Look up at the top where it says Exploring Dreams. Click it, read all about it, get his free download meditation and the dream flyer that give you all the details on what's included in this class. Remember, visit awakeneradio.net, look at the top where it says Exploring Dreams.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Lila Rose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Yes, welcome back, my friends. This is Pernilla Lila Rose, your host at Evolutionary Women Radio. And just to remind you, you can always find more information about what I do in my other life outside being a radio host. You can go to my website, and that is lilarose.com, LILLAROSE.com. You can browse around. I offer many things, products, services, anything to help you defrost or soften the frozenness in you so you can start waking up to the fact that you are the water. You do not need to go and look for that outside of yourself. You already are it. And the more you can learn to not focus too much on the frozen wave and start focusing more on what is this wave made of. It's H2O. And the connection between the frozen wave and water and you and me is that we can use the metaphor of love. We are love. There is only love. If you experience something inside of you that doesn't feel like love, it is probably a little frozen love wave. And it's still made of love. You are still made of love. And the more you can focus on that by bringing love to the areas that you have been rejecting about yourself, you naturally start melting. You start creating an environment of warmth, of love, right? Of warmth for the frozen water, of warmth and love for the frozen love, the unconscious love. If it's all love, whatever appears as not love, it's simply because it's still unconscious, but it's still love. Just like the wave looks like, or the frozen wave looks like a shape, but it is still water. And the same with you. If you are feeling frozen inside, do the best to create a warm environment around that frozenness. And just rest in that. Rest in and as the love. There's not anything to do. There's nothing to get rid of. Well, if there's anything to get rid of, I guess there is something to get rid of. If we really want something to get rid of, okay? Because that's the mind likes to get rid of things, doesn't it? If there's anything to get rid of, it's the belief that there's anything we need to get rid of. It's the belief that there's something wrong with you, that you need to chisel away something from yourself in order to be whole. Those are the beliefs. So yeah, those would be nice to start disidentifying with. Not, you can't fight them or cut them out, but you can, here we go, you can bring warmth around a belief like that. You just surround it with love. You surround it with warmth. And that helps the frozenness of a limited belief to start dissolving. It can all be so loving and so gentle if we choose to, and if we realize that we are made of love and gentleness and all the beautiful things that we know in our heart that we long for. When we start realizing, or maybe you can't just say just realize it, because it doesn't work that way. But you can start choosing to believe it. You can say, I choose to believe it even though I can't feel it yet. But you can start moving in that direction. You can bring it into a little prayer and say, please show me the truth of who I am. Please show me how I am made in the image and likeness of water. Or show me how I am made in the image and likeness of love. See, those questions, they open up the door for the water or the love to show us what it really is made of, what the nature is of love, or what the nature is of water. Because as long as it's just a concept, it doesn't do you much good, does it? It's conceptual, it's in the mind, and it just stays there. But we need to bring it down in the felt sense. We need to bring it down in the felt sense of the frozenness. That's where this warmth is needed. And we just start by allowing it, and the allowing itself is warmer than the frozenness. And you know that if you put an ice cube in lukewarm water, it is going to dissolve, right? You do not need to get your chisel out and break it up. You just put an ice cube in lukewarm water and just see what happens. You just watch it dissolve quite on its own. And that's kind of an image I would like to imprint in all of us, that with the ease and the effortless that these things can happen, once we realize the truth of what's going on here. And when we start realizing that we are the love that we are looking for out there, then we can start bringing that love to the parts inside of us that think they need to go outside looking for it. You see, you keep bringing the love, the warm water to anything that is afraid, confused, feeling separate, frozen, hurting, physical pain. You just bring it right there. And it's the same with the body, any body parts that are hurting or there's something, pain. You just keep bringing the presence of love there. It's like you let yourself dissolve in this love and then see what happens. And this is certainly an ongoing practice for me too. I'm aware that our minds, our minds, they like to figure things out. When the mind sees a frozen wave, it goes, okay, how can I fix that? How can I reshape it? How can I do this or that or the other to it? The mind loves fixing things. That's what minds do. They love to find solutions, to solve problems. That's what minds do. You might even say that's what minds are supposed to do, okay? So that's why as long as you live in the sphere of the mind, that's all you know. And you might even say the mind is kind of a frozen wave in its own way. And that's why it only knows how to get the chisel and the tools out to fix the frozenness of the wave inside in the body. But it stays on that mental conceptual level, and we need to bring it down. But let's honor the mind, because the mind has done fantastic things. I mean, it can figure out things, and it can be fun. It is fun. I mean, look at it. Isn't it great when you have a problem and you can solve it? It gives such a great feeling, right? We all know that feeling like, oh man, I could do it, and it felt really good, and I tried this and that, and suddenly I had the solution, and then everything in you goes, it's elation almost. And that's what's happening there, and that's what we do, but it can be a trap if that's all we do. It's a trap. Trying to find a solution can become a trap if you are not connected with the water, with the warm water, with the love. If you're not connected with that, it's all happening in the mind, and you will be going on a hamster wheel. It will never change, because as long as we have that, it's almost an addiction, it's an addiction for the mind. It wants to fix things and find solutions. And then you will stay in that realm. Then, you have finally figured something out, and it could be, it could be a real problem. It could be something in your body, it could be something in your emotions, and you figured something out and it feels good, and then on to the next and on to the next. So you see, it will keep you in that realm, and you will not find the peace. And that, I know most of us are really longing for. Not everyone. Some people really like that, and maybe they want another lifetime figuring things out and trying to fix things. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's something you enjoy, go for it. It's wonderful. And if you want to take one step further, start including the water, the love, and bring that to it. Maybe you can try that as an experiment, right? If I do not try and fix it with all the thinking and the, preparing and figuring it all out, if I just let this quote-unquote problem be held right here in my hands of warmth, I'm just going to hold it here. I'm just going to bathe it in it and see what happens. It's like, can you find enough patience inside to see something transform without any effort on your side? Now that can be challenging, can it? But if you do, you might just start noticing, what is it going to take for you to take on an experiment like that? What is it going to take for you to allow the frozenness to melt back into water all on its own? Just take a moment and think, what would that be? What is stopping you? What layer or what other piece of frozenness is holding on to trying to keep figuring it out yourself? And what would it take to take your hands off the wheel and let the warm water dissolve it on its own? So you might need a little detective work to see what it is in you that keeps the frozenness alive, right? Because when it really comes down to it, there is something in each one of us that is engaging in something, and it could be a very deep, unconscious belief or feeling or memory that we have completely forgotten about. But because it's painful and because we try to keep it at bay, there is, in that unconscious belief, there is something in us that keeps engaging in it. And that is what gives us, let's say, headaches and tension and emotional problems. That is the part of us that engages in these unconscious beliefs. And we keep engaging, and it's all happening very unconsciously. So we need to start becoming aware that we are actually doing that. And then what it's going to take your hands off and just for a moment let it just be held in the warm water. This part that keeps engaging, that's the one, right? That's the one. The wave itself is water, but it's our resisting something, resisting an experience in life. That is what keeps the wave frozen. And that's why we need to keep taking that next step deeper and feel into like, wow, how am I doing that? How am I holding on to this shape by resisting it? And then just open up and put that part that is engaging, just allow it, even though you may not quite know what it is. If you just experience a slight sensation of doing that, just allow that. Then you get back into the allowing. Allow the engaging in the shape, in the form, in the frozenness. Take a breath. Allow it. And then you start listening to your own way of engaging. You start getting familiar with that, right? The more you just let it be held in the warm water by not trying to fix it or change it or finding a solution, right? That's when you get out of your mind and drop into the water and just let it soak there. Let the way you engage in these beliefs unconsciously, let it just be held in the water. Just drop that little ice cube into the warm water of allowing. And then wait. Just wait. Listen. Notice what happens when you are taking your hands off the wave, off the ice cube. What happens? Then you create this space around it, and that space is warmth. And that's where the solution will naturally arise. It will either arise as a knowing what to do, but not fixing it from the mind. It was not like something you figured out to fix it or get rid of it. It was just a natural knowing that arises by just resting in the warm water. So it may come as a knowing, as an idea, or it may just dissolve. Suddenly, an issue you may have had could be in the body, in the mind, in your life. You might notice that something just changes totally on its own without you doing anything. And I can just share that that's actually been going on quite a bit in my life lately. It's been really nice because I have sunk to a deeper level of surrender, of just being. Every time I see a layer of unconsciousness that I was engaging in, I just place it in the water, in the warm water of allowing. And then I do all that I can to stay there. And the longer I stay, these things just dissolve, and suddenly I get a phone call from somebody offering something that I couldn't even have imagined myself, or something suddenly shows up in my life that I didn't do anything to make happen. And it's actually really beautiful to see how these things start happening, and most of us have heard about that, right? If you let go, life will just come and take over and do its thing. But how do you let go? And here I'm just breaking it down today, as I'm doing every time, but maybe even a little more today, about the little steps to take. So today we're just resting in the warm water of allowing. And just take a breath right now into this warm water of allowing. And just know that by you allowing whatever it is that you are trying to change, just by the act of allowing, you create warmer water. And this warmer water will melt the shape, the form, the frozenness that you've been trying to get rid of. The more you can sit in this warm water, and as you know, I teach meditation, I meditate. Meditation and stillness is a big, big part of my life. I just love it, and I love teaching it, and I love see my students, sink into this warm water as they learn to go into it and learn what this water is made of, right? It's made of love, and it's made of all the good that the heart is longing for. And the more we can learn to trust that, there's just a deeper resting. So we need to take frequent baths in this warm water. Long baths are great. Long baths dissolve a lot. And the more you can feel that your body is relaxing, that's when the water gets even warmer and more will dissolve. So it's just keep coming back. And I know I'm really emphasizing it right now because I want you to just get this feeling of warm water is what dissolves the frozenness in your life. And warm water is you allowing what you normally resist. It's you making space for what you normally try to get rid of. So let's take a breath into this water that we already are, into the nature of the frozenness, the frozen wave. The nature of the frozen wave is water. It's already water. So let's create the environment for this ice cube, this frozen wave, to melt. It's going to melt right back into its natural state. And it will dissolve the edges, the problems that we call problems. And it will happen on its own. Maybe after this show today, get out an ice cube and put it in lukewarm water and just watch it. Just take 5 minutes and just watch it, because it will give you a sense of just observing and waiting and allowing that there's nothing to do. And many of us, we are so impatient inside. We want to fix things right away. It's hard just to sit down and watch an ice cube dissolve. Right? How often do we do that? We just sit and watch it. But it will give you an imprint of what happens when you do that with the areas in your life that you try to get rid of. So take 5 minutes and watch this little ice cube dissolve. And then feel what it feels like to just allow. And notice that it happened all on its own, right? Nothing you needed to do about it. This is so much fun, guys. I really want this to be more known, that the resting back into our own presence, into our own essence. That's where everything changes. It's learning to trust it. It's learning its language. And it's really learning to take the time to do this. Not just think about it or read about it or talk about it, but take time every day and just sit. When I teach meditation, at the university here, many of them in the beginning, it's hard to just take the 5 minutes to sit down and have a 5-minute practice every day. And when we talked about it last night, it was with the students, it's like it's the distraction that pulls us away, because most of them said, I'm too busy. But when we really look at, well, what is really busy? What is the busyness? And then, of course, it turns out that a lot of it is just distraction, either on a computer or on the iPhone or Facebook or whatever we do. And we all do it. I'm certainly guilty of it myself. But I am taking time to sit every day, many times a day, because I just crave it. I just want to be in the warm water, because that's where I feel most at home and most happy, and that's where things just happen on their own. So it's a preference in my life. It's something I choose to do, and we can all choose that. We can just choose to take 5 minutes, and if it's helpful, watch an ice cube dissolve in warm water every day, and just watch it and make that your practice to start getting used to the fact that things just happen on their own, right? It's a different imprint than what we're used to. Out in the world, we always need to do something and learn more and do more and, be more busy and more successful. And that's what keeps us away from just resting in and as the warm water. And let it dissolve it. And then see what happens. See what wisdom, what inspiration, what clarity comes out of that. So, wow, time goes so fast. Here we've been hanging out in the warm water, and the time has just been dissolving. So we're almost at the top of the hour, and I want to thank you all for listening in today. You can always feel free to email me if you have anything you want to share or anything you want to ask me about. I'll do my best to answer it. And please go to my website at lillarose.com, LILLAROSE.com, and just browse around. And if you want to explore it a little further with me, you can always sign up for one of my 30-minute free, what I call a discovery session. And that's a 30 minutes where we take time to discover your frozen waves, and specifically what they need to dissolve, if I can use that metaphor today. Because sometimes it's difficult to see what's frozen if we're so used to it. It's like it's all we know. So please feel free to set up a time with me, or just send me an email if you have anything you want to share with me. That would be wonderful. And and please do take time to practice this. Either one, sit down for 5 minutes and just start practicing allowing, and let the frozen wave be dissolved in your allowing warm water. That's all it takes. My friends, it's been lovely to be here with you, and I look forward to our next week, another episode of Evolutionary Women Radio, and I wish you all a beautiful week. Blessed be. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.com.